Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/AmITheDevil for you all. As per usual, I'll be narrating the post, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Originally posted to r/true off my chest. I think my former DM quit playing and DMing D&D after my group told her she wasn't good enough. I'm part of a group of 5 friends that love Dungeons & Dragons. We all played for a nightmare of a DM, but we liked playing together. We recently held auditions for a new DM and had a few duds before coming across a new DM. I'll call her Willow. Willow had a lot of green flags. She was willing to listen and had a lot of homebrew material. She spent over 18 hours writing a one-shot for us to try so we could test if we liked her style. After that, we happily asked her to be our DM. She spent over 2 days of her own time designing a world, building characters with us, and answering our questions. We played session 1 and everybody had a lot of fun except one player. I'll call him Jason. Jason has really high expectations. He's played for some DMs who have actual play games, as in professional D&D, so he has really high standards. Most of the group really liked Willow, and as we gathered for a meeting before our second session, Jason voiced that he didn't want her to DM for us anymore, that she wasn't polished enough, that her world had plot holes, that he didn't like how she played NPCs, and because we play together and are unwilling to split apart the group, we dropped Willow 15 minutes before session 2. She had a really angry reaction, but it was kind of appropriate. I understand why she felt betrayed. It has been about 6 months since we dropped her. We have yet to find a DM that meets Jason's expectations. When I messaged Willow yesterday, she told me that she has sold— No! You, Jason. When I messaged Willow yesterday, she told me that she has sold her books and dice and given up ever DMing or playing ever again. She seems okay with her decision, but I also know D&D was her whole life, and she loved it so much. She also told me she was going to block everybody she has ever played D&D with because she was cutting it out completely from her life. Before she blocked me, she told me Jason had private messaged her and told her she wasn't good enough for our table and she should probably stick to writing books. Even sent a screenshot. I feel awful. I feel like we chased away a very talented DM from the hobby because she wasn't as good as an actual play DM. I feel disappointed in myself, I feel hurt, I feel angry that we ruined the experience of a person who put so much effort and energy into writing a story for us. I feel sick. While OP is, I guess, kind of an unwilling participant, Jason is the real devil here. I'm sure OP didn't realize that Jason had direct messaged her, calling her a bad DM. Honestly, players like Jason are the worst. Oh my fucking god. Normally, for people like Jason, they've probably DM'd maybe once or twice and they were bad at it, but are more than willing to criticize someone else's DMing skills at a moment's notice. Or, when they do DM, everyone hates their DM style because they're, well, a variety of things, and judging by Jason's personality, probably just not a fun DM. Like the fact alone that this group has spent 6 months trying to find a DM, but they can't because none of them meet Jason's standards is bull. It's Dungeons & Dragons. You're supposed to have fun with a group of people, not bow down because Jason wants some kind of critical role or Dimension 20 or even like a Baldur's Gate style polished experience. Not every D&D session is gonna be like that. The core of D&D is the time you spend with your friends. That's the point of it. It fucking breaks my heart that a DM like Willow, who has this much passion for the hobby, was pretty much put in a position where they felt like they could never actually properly DM for something, and felt like their only recourse was to sell their books and drop the hobby entirely. I know y'all have the rule where y'all stick together as a bunch of players, but I really think you guys should just kick Jason from the party, because he's going to just cause more problems, and you're never going to find a DM that's up to his standards. Am I the asshole for buying my daughter a joke gift that technically corresponds to what she asked for? I have a daughter, 16 female, and a son, 15 male. My son is really into PC building and gaming, and my daughter is as well, but not to the same extent, and mostly just copies me and my son when she chooses games and PC upgrades with her allowance. Last year, near my son's birthday, his monitor broke and he needed a new one, so I got him a really good Alienware monitor, an AW3423DW. That's a $900 monitor, by the way, for those of you who are wondering. It uses a display tech called OLED, where each pixel self-illuminates as opposed to a backlight for the whole screen, which makes images look really good, especially in HDR settings. We also have a TV with this sort of display. My daughter loves our TV, and when she saw my son's monitor, she also wanted one, and has been hinting that she wants an OLED monitor for her birthday. I asked her about it, and she does want one, but not for working, but only for when she plays games. But she said I don't have to, as she knows it's expensive and she already has a working monitor. She also said that she does not mind if it's a smaller, cheaper one, as long as it's an OLED screen. Since she has a working monitor, albeit a classic office type, I felt it did not really make sense to get the OLED monitor. For her birthday, I got a teeny tiny monochrome blue OLED screen like this. I then put it in the box of the monitor I got my son and wrapped it. Dude, that f***ed up. This was obviously a joke and technically fit her criteria. However, she got really upset and went to her room and cried and has been acting cold since. I did obviously get her a dress as a nice gift, but she is upset and has not unwrapped it yet. Am I the asshole here? So not only is your daughter not allowed to have an interest in PC building or games without it being that she's copying you and she's a woman, so of course she can't be into it, but you pretty much mock her, get her hopes up, give her this cheap little piece of here, which is essentially out of an 80s sci-tech movie, and meanwhile, while your son got a $900 monitor for his birthday, you got her a dress. Was the dress worth $900? I doubt it. Also, have you ever tried to actually work on an OLED monitor before? Because, unless her work involves media, like video editing or photography, an OLED sucks for reading text on. Like, don't get me wrong, it's gotten better with time and it's 100% doable, but compared to other options like a mini LED monitor or even an LCD with a, trying to think of the best way to explain this, a zoned backlight system, those are much better for reading text on and for working. But OLEDs for gaming? Yeah, that looks great as hell. An OLED's primary use is for media consumption, and she said, hey, I want to use an OLED for its primary use case. And you said, no, here's a dress. Am I the asshole for yelling at my daughter's Leech? I raised my daughter, Emily, by myself. She's successful and owns her own home. The problem is the Leech. The Leech has been living with her since she bought her house as some part of a thing where the Leech house sat when Emily was deployed and got free rent whenever. Because my daughter felt sorry for her because she's not in the right head and can't handle stress. I was fine with the Leech until it became clear that she was not moving on after Emily retired and was no longer being deployed. She manipulated my daughter into believing that the house was both of theirs and that Emily needed the Leech's approval for me to move in. I tried to snap my daughter out of it, but Emily kicked me out of her house. We patched things up, but neither of them talked to me like before, and she doesn't invite me over as much the last couple of years. The Leech called me yesterday to tell me my daughter was in a wreck and in the hospital, but doing okay. I called the hospital and they wouldn't tell me anything and said I wasn't next of kin. I am her mother. I knew that Leech did something to make that happen. So I went to Emily's house, and there the awful woman was, walking a dog. My daughter did not get a dog. She would have told me. I demanded to know what was going on and why she was walking someone else's dog at my daughter's house, and demanded she tell the hospital to give me information. She looked right at me and lied. She said it was their dog, and Emily did not want me talking to the doctors. Oddly, she didn't stammer, which she did last time I yelled at her that Emily kicked me out. Probably since my daughter wasn't there to play to for sympathy, I called her out on it and started calling out all her Leech behavior, and she made a snarky comment and walked away. She bitched to my daughter, and now my daughter is mad at me again. Edit, they are not married. They don't even share a bedroom. This isn't a case of mom is too dumb to know they're a couple. Edit, because everyone is missing the point. Leech is obviously faking whatever is wrong with her and taking advantage of my daughter for a long time. She did not cut me off until the Leech told her to. Probably played up the issues then too. And sadly the worst, who also posted this, has a nice little comment thread here. Content warning for ableism. Copied verbatim from Opie's comments. You're the asshole. Is this Leech perhaps your daughter's partner who you refuse to acknowledge, or who she doesn't feel comfortable telling you about? It sounds like your daughter chose not to have you listed as her next of kin because she doesn't want you to visit her at the hospital because you're a giant asshole about her life and choices. If this person is someone your daughter is in a relationship with, you need to cut your bull and apologize to both of them. You're acting like a complete ass and are going to lose your relationship with your daughter if you haven't already. The mother responded with, they just share a house. They are not together. My daughter has always been into men. Yeah, when was the last time she dated a man? It's embarrassing, but she used to flirt with my boyfriends all the time when she was a teenager. I didn't keep tabs on her dating life when she moved out, so it's probably never been anything serious. Info. Who is the Leech? Is she just a friend, your daughter's wife? Because if they were not the wife, this person wouldn't be able to get medical information about your daughter at the hospital. Why would you assume you're entitled to move on without having the approval of your tenants? This person lives there, and even if it's not their house, they have a say in who moves in. You're not entitled to a roof just because that roof belongs to your daughter. Also, if your child doesn't want you to have access to their medical information, don't blame the friend/wife. Blame it on your crappy relationship with her. So in the end, you're the asshole. The mother responded, they are not married, not even in a relationship. She's just trying to take everything that should be our family's. Yeah, I doubt that. I think your boyfriends were creepy and hitting on your daughter, and you were in fact obtuse about it. You don't sound like you're involved in your daughter's life at all. You sound like an absent parent. You're the Leech in this scenario. Expecting her to let you move in? Not her job. You're an adult. Her medical history is none of your business. The mother responded, that's disgusting. I wasn't absent. She made such a big fuss about the one I had to move us out of and find a new place to live. Why wouldn't she take care of her mother after I took care of her? And for the doctors, I'm her mother! This one's from a deleted user. Doubt she's on the approved guest list. What kind of person tells me my daughter is in the hospital and won't let me see her? I mean, considering your story here, I highly doubt you have any clue what's going on in her life at all. What's her age? She's 42. Oh my god! I was thinking she was like in her maybe mid to late 20s. Wow. She's 42, and she would not cut me out unless she put her up to it. My daughter has always been diligent and good. You're literally accusing her of flirting with your boyfriends and being the reason you had to move. Pick a story. She's 42 now, can't you read? She was 16 then. The only evidence you have that she likes men is flirtatious conversations she had when she was 16? Nearly 3 decades ago? And you haven't seen her date a guy since? You are no mother, not anymore, and she doesn't owe you anything. You sound like a narcissistic person. You people love throwing that around. If I was a narcissist, would I care that this woman is lying to my daughter about a disability? Even worse. So you were mentally abusing your teenage daughter and somehow were jealous because you thought she would flirt with your boyfriends. You have some serious issues if you really believe all your delusions. Please get help and leave your daughter alone. I was not abusing my daughter in any way. Do not state that as a fact when it was not true. I'm not delusional. It's not normal for someone you have no romantic or whatever relationship with to live in your house and try to divide you from your mom while you are in the hospital. Info. What evidence do you have that this person is leeching off manipulating your daughter? Do you have actual solid reasons to believe this, or is this just your perspective of the situation? Why did you call the hospital rather than your daughter directly? Have you ever seen a therapist regarding your relationship with your daughter? Has your daughter ever asked you to do so? She has been living rent-free with my daughter for years, and they are not in a relationship. They have separate rooms and everything. I called the hospital because I thought she didn't have it on her since the housemate called me. I'm not big on therapy. My daughter has asked before, but she knows it's just to make people feel better about themselves. Even the comment the Leech made when I called her out on faking her trouble was, therapy and hard work. You should try it sometime. But even I know therapy doesn't fix things that much. I'm not sinking money I don't have into that. Honestly, the thing that really sold me on the fact the mother's probably crazy and there could actually be a romantic relationship going on is the fact that she was listed as the next of kin. And when I first read this, I assumed maybe that the daughter was like in her 20s, like at most, not 42. If in 42 years of life, the only time that the mother can think of when she was interested in men was when she was flirting with her boyfriends when she was 16, I feel like your daughter has a lot more going on in her life that she's just simply unwilling to tell you. And honestly, from this Reddit meltdown, I can kind of see why. But I'd be very curious to hear your opinions on it. You, audience listener, what do you think? What do you think is going on here? Because honestly, this is a fucking mess. Am I the asshole for keeping the income of my late wife's trust instead of splitting it between our kids? I, 63 male, lost my first wife, Annie, to cancer 28 years ago, when our daughters, Kendra and June, were 9 and 7. We had done pretty well for ourselves. So when Annie was terminal, we put all of her assets into a trust that I manage. With my guidance, it has done even better. It generates about $45,000 in income every year now. I got remarried when Kendra and June were 13 and 11. Since June finished undergrad, my wife, Miranda, and I have kept the $45K income from the trust. I've built up quite a legacy for when I pass. My wife and my daughters will be splitting the profits of 5 houses, Annie's trust, the trust I made at the same time, and my investments. Kendra and June will be pretty well comfortable. June was dog-sitting for us in July. What a sentence that is. Because she's a teacher and we need to schedule our vacations around her. She called me up demanding I explain why she and Kendra haven't been given the income from the trust. She claims she was looking for Annie's old writing, which does sound like something she would do. I don't think she was snooping to snoop. She's always been a sweet kid. I told her that the trust was to be split between her and Kendra when I died, but I want her to keep giving Miranda the $45K a year. She asked what my wife had to do with that money. I told her it was my prerogative how my money gets distributed. June argued that it wasn't my money, but Annie's money, and her stepmother has nothing to do with it. She complained that Miranda has a job in luxury sales and I have my pension and investments, but both she and Kendra are on food stamps. I admit they are. Kendra because she's bad with money and June because she has medical problems. I told June that she would be set for life when I pass away, but she said I'm acting like a greedy asshole. She says she and her sister should split the income from their mother's trust now. I told her that it wouldn't be anywhere near as much to split if I hadn't managed it so well. She started sobbing about how that $22K a year would change her life and let her get medical care, while I'm just sitting on it. I can admit that June has never been selfish or money motivated. She works hard and does a lot for the family, or she used to. But I really do not understand why she feels so entitled to get this money that wouldn't even be here without me while I am still here. Annie's will and trust leave me in charge of everything until I pass. I used it to pay for both Kendra and June's college, so they only had to use their part-time jobs to buy books and school supplies. Frankly, I think June is being a bit of an asshole herself, but I told her I'd be willing to see what people outside the situation thought. See, this is really frustrating because you have the opportunity to do something really fucking cool, but you'd rather just be a greedy bastard. Your daughters are 100% entitled to that money from Annie's will. You have a vehicle that makes you passive income. You could easily split that with your daughters and continue raking in some passive income, reinvesting it and increasing that amount, while also giving your daughters more than they would have received from Annie's will. Hell, you could have covered their medical debts and been there for them in a way that would have actually made you a hero in their story. But no, instead you're just sitting on a ton of money that you're hoarding until after you die, which could be anywhere from 20 to 25 years from now, give or take. And yeah, $20,000 at lower income levels is life-changing, especially when it's every year. There is nothing wrong with investing that money to be a vehicle for income for your children in the future. However, when your kids are actively suffering now and you have a dragon's hoard that you're sitting on, it does make you the villain here, especially when they never received anything from their mother's will. Like, you have so many ways to fix this and be the hero of the story, but instead you went to Reddit and bitched about it. Like, my man. It's not entitlement for June to ask for something that was rightfully left for her by her mother who passed when she was a child. And the thing is, you could very well arrange something from her where it's, hey, I could either pay you out the money that you would have gotten from the will, or every year I can give you 10 grand. Doesn't even have to be the 22 grand. The 10 grand alone is already a pretty good amount of money and allows you to continue being your selfish little dragon horde of a human being, but hey, at least you still get your money. But the real question here is how much was in the will? Because it does take a lot of money for you to be able to passively generate $45,000 a year. It really does make me wonder, how much are you keeping from your daughters? Am I the asshole for not telling my girlfriend that a recruiter called and said she had a job offer? My girlfriend, 25, was laid off a couple months ago and has been job searching. She worked for a major company, which almost everyone has heard of, and got an extremely generous severance package, so she's not under any financial stress. She hasn't had luck so far, but she only did 4 complete interview processes, but it has not been long. She applied to this other large company, not as well known by the general public, but extremely known by people in the industry. We share a burner phone that we use whenever we don't want to give out our phone numbers, and she doesn't always carry it with her. While she was out cycling, she left it at home and I picked it up. It was someone claiming to be a recruiter from the company, and I said she wasn't in, but the recruiter said she got the job and it was good news. I said I'll pass along the message and tell her to email her back. Except I didn't actually do this. It could have been a spam call since a recruiter wouldn't usually share candidate information to someone else. Additionally, I had advised my girlfriend against this job because I trade stocks as a side hustle, and her working there would prevent me from easily buying more shares of the company anytime, and I am highly interested in buying more soon. Days passed and the recruiter emailed her and asked her why she hadn't called back. She called back and got the offer, and against my wishes, accepted it. She's now mad at me for not telling her what could have been a spam call. I didn't delete the call history or anything, so she could have checked herself. Am I the asshole? Unironically, she should leave you. Because if you actually cared for your girlfriend and had good intentions for her future, what you could have done is just simply state, hey, this company reached out to you, but I think it might be a spam call, so please proceed with caution. And boom! But no, instead you showed your ass to the world by admitting that you're a day trader as a hobby, and that you would rather sacrifice your girlfriend's future prospects at the altar of your day trading so you could buy stocks at this company instead of her living a fulfilling life. You are so goddamn shallow, you make the puddle in my driveway look like a goddamn Olympic pool. Because honestly, I can't comprehend the idea of the fact that you have a girlfriend who got a very, very healthy severance package that she could have easily just lazily coasted on, but no, she wants to get back to work. She applied for companies, got a pretty healthy job offer, and what'd you do? I'd rather be day trading. I hope she fucking dumps her ass, dude. Am I the asshole for giving away my girlfriend's baby's name? I, 25 male, and my girlfriend, 23 female, have been dating for 5 years. We both expect to get married in the future and have kids in the somewhat distant future. I have always wanted to have kids, having always loved interacting with them and feeling a strong paternal nature. My girlfriend less so, but she still generally expects to have a child together in the future, a non-negotiable expectation I have expressed from the get-go. When discussing our future children, and specifically the aspect of their names, she has always deferred to me for choosing them, not expressing strong opinion about them. As such, for a few years now, I've had a static list of names chosen that I would love for our children, and she has always agreed. However, 9 months ago, my girlfriend grew a strong conviction for a name of a daughter. She became enamored with this name, and she recently learned it was her great-grandmother's name. Frankly, for several small reasons, I do not like the name. I told this to her when she first mentioned it, and she was very offended, although I was just being transparent with her. When she told me it was to honor her great-grandmother, I felt bad about it and said it was a fine name. That said, I was a bit upset that, on a whim, she was overruling the list of names we had long since agreed upon for a great-grandmother she never met nor had any idea existed until this point in her life. 2 months later, my girlfriend's sister, 25 female, became pregnant with her husband. 2 weeks ago, they had a gender reveal party. At the party, they had all sorts of fun gender-related activities, namely one for people to write down names for a boy and a girl and put it in a box for them to read later in private. For the girl, I put down the name my girlfriend wanted for a daughter. During the party, it's revealed that they are going to be having a girl. Now, less than a week ago, they share the 2 names they narrowed down their choices to with the family. Lo and behold, one of the 2 names they chose is one that I wrote for them. My girlfriend was made very upset by this. She immediately pegged that it was me who wrote down the name for them at the party and blamed me for giving away her baby name. While she was right, and I apologized for it, I argued that it was unfair for her to suddenly disregard the names that I had my heart set out on. However, she did not care, and continued to ream me out for giving away her name. The past few days had been fairly tense. She's still very angry I gave away her baby name, and I've been uninterested in resolving the tensions after she completely ignored my concerns in the situation. Am I the asshole? I mean, yeah, dude, like, fundamentally, you are. I mean, she probably previously didn't have a list of baby names because she wasn't really too concerned with it. The moment she showed interest of actually contributing to the list of names, you shut her down and give the name away. I mean, she's not pregnant yet, so there's plenty of time for names to change and for new names to pop up and, just for the general conversation of it to naturally occur later. But you still kind of just yoinked that from her. She had an interest in actually having a part of a potential future child's name, and you just yoinked that from her because you're so gung-ho on a personal list. Like, is she not allowed to think of names herself or even contribute names to that list? Like, dude, you gotta think of just how this in general is gonna feel for her. Also, in the future, when you're explaining that a condition of your relationship is that you want to have kids in the future, don't read it off as what you stated of it being a non-negotiable expectation I have expressed from the get-go. That makes it sound weird and almost incelish, my dude. You gotta go with something instead of just saying, I expressed to her that I'm not interested in having a relationship where kids aren't in the picture. That sounds human. A non-negotiable expectation sounds like a corporate transaction. Am I the asshole for calling out my friend after he kept calling his cat a diva? So I, 28 female, am definitely not a cat person. I don't hate them, but I never had pets growing up and honestly just don't get the whole assigning personality traits to animals thing. Like, they're cute or whatever, but calling them divas, kings, queens, etc. The other day I was hanging out with a group of friends at my friend Jake's 30 male place. He has a cat, Kazoo, that's an awesome name for a cat, and he's always calling her Diva. By the way, for those of you who are just listening, Diva, what every time it's said, has a finger up emoji and lipstick. Like, legit, using that phrase all the time and everyone seems to find it hilarious. It started to really get on my nerves after a while, especially when he kept talking about how Kazoo was too good to hang out with us and how she's such a mood. I just snapped and said something like, "She ain't no diva, she's a cat, you're being ridiculous." Well, the room went silent and everyone looked at me weird and someone said, "Girl, what?" I could tell Jake was a bit annoyed as he rolled his eyes, and now my friends are calling me the fun police for killing the vibe and being uptight about something so harmless. I wasn't trying to be mean, I just don't get why people act like their pets are people with complex personalities, and I was frustrated. Now I'm wondering if I overreacted. Am I the asshole for snapping at him over this? Should I have just kept quiet and let him do his thing? So taking an entire step back of how I feel about animals, because we'll get into that into a second. If your friends are all having a good time and they're joking about something harmless, and you step in and pull a stunt like this, yeah, you're the asshole in this situation and very much the fun police. Like, this just breaks down to, I possibly hurt my friend's feelings and made most of my friends uncomfortable, but I want to be right in this scenario. Am I the asshole? That's what this comes off as. Now, I gave you a break on the pet side of things because you said you didn't grow up with pets. And yes, pets can have very goofy and charming personalities that are unique to them. Plus, it's also just fun to prescribe things to a cat's actions when they just want to go get water and it's like, oh, think you're too good for me, huh? Or when your dog scoffs after you tell them, no, it's not 4:30 yet, you can't have dinner. It really is something that you just have to have a pet to understand, and I can understand why you may not understand the whole joking nature surrounding it. Like, we could entirely pull away and disconnect the cat from the equation and just say that it's a pet rock. And if they're like, yeah, my pet rock's kind of a diva, as it's just sitting on the counter, that's funny. Then you calling it out, you're just a buzzkill, a mood kill, and you're ruining a fun joke. Also, sadly the worst, the goat of this subreddit, has a nice little comment where they've collected a few of their posts just to wrap it all together for us. Copied verbatim from OP's comments. Yes, you're the asshole. Why would that bother you so much? Pets absolutely have personalities, and I've met some real-life diva-ish cats. OP simply responded with, they are cats. Be f***ing for real. You're the asshole, come on. Jake was being silly and everyone was having a good time. Is this the first time you've ever spent time with someone who has a pet? Animals most certainly are not people, but they most certainly have complex personalities. That's just science. To which OP responded, according to science? Since when? And below, sadly the worst, is actually linked to a link chain that has a bunch of studies going over cats and their complex personalities. So yes, it is science. They also attempted to flee to r/am I overreacting, hoping that people would be more on their side, but nope, they're being torn apart in the comments equally as so after trying to escape the previous verdict. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Pear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup, and you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code ODDS at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.